Hey guys, this is Collin and Katie for CardsChat.com, and today we have the final table replay of WCOOP event number 74, the $1,000 No Limit Hold'em Turbo, a progressive knockout with $750,000 guaranteed. Katie, who do you think is going to win this first hand? Just take a guess.
All right, let's just look around at these hands, and I would have to say, the 6-4.
So, that is a crazy guess. My money is on pocket queens.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's likely to get a ton of action based on the other cards, but maybe the big blind get involved if he chooses to enter.
Yes, he might just, he could fold. Now, the big blind with king nine off, usually people are going to be min raising at around 20 blinds, and the big blind should defend this hand. This would be a pretty weak fold. He's getting great odds, and he snap folds. Too tight play.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty tight. I mean, if we didn't have much better than that, we could think about 3-bet shoving, actually, even though it would be a terrible time, I think.
Yes, wouldn't work out well. Now, what I wonder here with the pocket eights, it looks like this player in the cutoff is the chip leader. And what do you think? This is probably too deep to just move all in. He min raises. What's going to happen here?
I don't know, considering he's, almost tied with the player to his left. I actually do like going ahead and just jamming in this spot with the 10s, particularly when we can see the other player's 8s.
Yes. Well, he covers him. Oh, look at this. What a massive suck out.
Wow.
Now, the other thing, interestingly, is that this is a progressive knockout, and the final table replays will not show the bounty. So we don't know exactly, but there is definitely an incentive to knock out players and shove wider when you cover, call wider for that reason.
That would have to be pretty big incentive to make that a call with 8s, I think, with the ICM dynamics, but it's possible.
I don't know. I think it's a correct raise call. Really? That's my opinion.
All right. Well, it was correct this time for sure.
Yeah, with the pocket fives, definitely. So this is fast and furious action, as we can expect from turbos. And I also wanted to pull up the lobby. Let's take a quick look at that when there's a lull in the action. Here, ace-7 offsuit, good shove for 7 blinds.
Yeah, definitely a spot to just go ahead and shove in that scenario, I think. Or even better, not all in, as I would have probably preferred, putting in almost all of his stack, leaving some back. Though that gets away with things a lot less frequently at a final table where everyone's paying a bit more of intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack-10 suited, I think, would normally fold here, and this is a play to isolate the bounty, which could be good depending on how large it is.
Right, that's definitely the case.
And I was feeling Jack-10 suited at that flop.
I was feeling Jack-10 suited all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Danos, though, is definitely exhibiting that he looks like he knows what he's doing, I have to say, so far in this, with being aggressive and pursuing those bounties.
Yeah. I really want to pull up the lobby and people keep getting hands. So this is kind of frustrating me.
It's probably not a great one to try to pull up the lobby.
No, it's literally impossible. If I were Denny, I probably would just move all in at 15 blinds here, not wanting to raise call or raise fold. And what do you think of the slow play with pocket aces? Kind of surprising. Any merit here?
I think it looks pretty suspicious offhand. I mean, maybe there's a history where he can get away with this not looking weird. But to me, I'm check folding this. I mean, I know it's easy to say when you can see the player has aces, but at the same time, it would definitely be ringing alarm bells to me if I was the opponent.
And yet, here Denny is with the C-bet, not listening to Hot Jenny.
Well, it's 1/5 of the pot. I would say that shows some concern, perhaps.
The difficult thing for him here, though, is that when he bets so small, like you're saying, he's going to get called more frequently. And then what does he do now? Like, his opponent just call the flop because he's getting such good odds, or does he have a real hand? So I think he may have C-bet a little bit too small with this flop.
Yeah, I think that is too small. And you want to balance your range, I think, at a final table, especially some. So I'm pretty much never going to be C-betting that small on that flop, whether I have it or don't.
Yeah, that is too small. I agree. Get us here. I would like to see him just open shove. He covers. It's a progressive knockout.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're leaving yourself really vulnerable to 3-bet shoves when you just mid-open the ace-3 off. I think it's definitely more profitable to go ahead and shove here.
Yeah.
Even though it looks long ball. Sometimes long ball is correct.
Sometimes it is. And I think both of these guys, King 10 off in the small blind and ace-5 suited in the big blind, can both 3-bet shove. Like we said in our course.
Yeah.
You can 3-bet shove very wide in the blinds, move all in when the button is the only raiser. And a great shove by Denis Ramos. Probably he would have folded facing an all-in, or at least he might have. Mm-hmm. But facing the min raise, he correctly shoves.
Yeah, that really shows the power of just open shoving from the get-go, on that last hand, because he would have folded, I think, instead of 3-bet shoving. All right, let's see here.
Now, with a high pocket pair in the big blind, you're never going to get action. The rule holds up.
I like just folding there, though, in the small blind, too. I do agree with the fold.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
An aggressive, solid-looking player. I mean, I'm always looking for spots to find an exploitive angle in those scenarios, but to me, with the player in the big blind playing how he has been, there's not one there.
Did you just say you're always looking for an opportunity to angle?
I did not.
This is a video for a family audience.
Exploit in a small blind with a crap hand. No.
I'm just kidding. You are exactly right. You got to be. And look at this call with 7-6 suited in the small blind. So if you have really deep stacks, this might be a little bit closer, but much too shallow here, I think, to be taking a flop.
Orders of magnitude too shallow to take a flop here. This is a significant mistake for sure.
Scrubbies is going to be putting out the C-bet. He might also be a little bit suspicious, that someone this short is going to flat out of the small blind. But the pot is just too large compared to the effective remaining stack, compared to the small blind of that hand, his stack, in order to get away from top pair.
And this deep in the tournament, odds are that he has some kind of read on the kind of opponent that's flatting way too shallow with 7-6. He probably has other leaks in his game as well that Scrubbies is aware of at that point and makes it less suspicious.
Definitely. And that's a good point. Like, if you're really deep in a big WCOOP or any big tournament, you should be paying attention when there are a couple other tables left.
Well, and ideally the whole tournament as well.
No, the rest of it, like, you just, you're drinking, you're smoking.
Right. Well, that's
then you're like, oh man, 3 people are left out of this 10,000 initial field.
Like the 3 times I've played while drinking, I've had good results. So
now, I want you, Katie, I don't want to give you homework.
Yeah, okay? That's good because I don't really have time for homework. We have 2 kids now. Thanks.
But I want you to tell me anytime a hand starts where you think I can pull up the lobby and it's safe.
Pull it up.
Okay. All right. So here it is in the handy window snipping tool. And as we'll see, we've blacked out. We don't want to give any spoilers, so it's not going to show who has actually won or lost at this point. And we see this was a pretty big field. And I got a prize pool. It was a 750,000 guaranteed. It got over 800,000. So at 1,000 buy-in, it got 800 entries. Mm-hmm. So very large field turbo.
Right.
And a lot of money for first.
And these places take into account the bounties that they won along with it, right?
No, that's excluding the bounties.
Oh, that's excluding. Wow, that's even more impressive.
Yes. And the bounties has a huge winner-take-all effect.
It's part of what makes bounty tournaments so fun. PKO is a very fun format.
Absolutely, yeah. Great shove by Geddes there with the ace-6 suited. Nobody's can take the play away from him when he just jams there.
What do you think, though, about min-raising there in terms of he could min-raise call, it's a stronger hand, and he looks weaker from having done it before to balance his range a little bit more?
Yeah, that's true. Normally, I think that would be too weak because of ICM. That hand wouldn't be strong enough, but you're more inclined to get it all in against shorter stacks with the bounty, so I think that's a cool adjustment. And here, sixes has to call. In my opinion, it is pretty good against the buttons range for shoving, and he's about tied for the short stack.
Yeah, it's not a situation where I'm like, oh, goody, I get to call with sixes, but I think you have to call, definitely. I think it's profitable.
Yeah, now another thing about it is that if Mitz has a hand like, when he folds, has a hand like pocket queens, he's probably going to min-raise looking for that action. So your opponent's range is capped. Now this is going to be a firework situation, probably under the gun. Well, under the gun just fold. I was going to say he's going to open king jack suited. But aces versus queens, this is just going to be a cooler.
This would be a bad time to look at the lobby. There's going to be action this hand.
Yeah, I've only brought that up 80 times, and now you're bringing up what lobby? What lobby are you talking about?
All right. So now the player's min-raising.
Yes. So probably here, if you had a hand like sevens, he would just shove. At least I would if I had 16 blinds and pocket sevens.
Mm-hmm.
Button jams.
You know, there's a specific timing tell there.
What's that?
Tell us. When you wait until your time bank is almost activated and then click the call button and there's action yet to come, I think it's a little, the shove button, sorry, but it's a little bit intimidating because it's like somebody saying, all right, I've got to wait a little bit of time. How much? I'll wait until my time bank's activated.
Yeah,
I do not like that.
Not buying it. I like that.
Yeah, I like to do it a little bit faster when I do it because it makes it look like you're not trying to eke out all the value there. And in fact, he had the worst hand.
True. And this is an interesting spot. King 6 off normally on the button would be pretty weak. You might open against tight players in the blinds. Here you want to raise because you're the chip leader and you have to apply pressure at a final table.
I think you could profitably shove here with how tight Swervo has been so far.
Yes, and if the small blind calls Swervo, is that how we're pronouncing it?
That's how I'm pronouncing it.
Is that like Jose Cuervo, the tequila?
I don't know. I think so, yeah.
And look at that pocket four snap fold. So that's a mistake. If I'm pocket fours there, I'm going to shove.
Yeah.
Sometimes your opponent will fold. If not, you're usually flipping. And as the short stack, you just don't have as much to worry about.
Yeah, that was a definite real mistake there with the fours. To not go with it.
Now, I'm going to call him Cuervo. If Cuervo is going to play this hand, which he should, arguably with pocket aces.
Right.
Okay, what should he do? Should he just move all in, or does he have room to do something a little bit cuter?
I would shove personally because it's going to look like maybe your range is capped for doing that. You have just enough for doing it. And then, there's been a lot of 3-betting, or at least a reasonable amount, and he gets snapped here.
Wow. Snap called King Jack, probably because of the bounty. But you're right, it might look even weaker. If he makes a 3-bet to something like 2.5 million, it might look like he really wants the action. Maybe he would only be doing that kind of a move with premium hands.
It's amazing how many times people really give away their hand with a super premium, or at least make it a lot more likely that's what's going on. And so honestly, when I look down at aces or kings in this type of scenario, my thought is, don't screw it up, Katie. Don't make your aces or kings, because it's like, I don't know, you can easily get this impulse to be like, oh, I'm going to raise small. And it's like, no, that's terrible. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. That is the impulse. It's like, I got a monster. I've got to do something that's a little bit cuter. Speaking of this,
they're both slow playing the flop. It's hilarious.
They're both thinking, wow,
I've got this. Yeah, that's funny. Check call on the turn.
Here, Scrubbies is almost certainly going to bet. He has the lead. He still has trips. And what's interesting is if Cuervo is going to raise this hand or just call, he just calls, he loses the minimum.
Wow.
Which is kind of good and kind of bad.
Yeah, it's kind of good and kind of bad. I don't, if you're either of these guys, you want to be thinking, how can I play for stacks in that hand? And neither of them really made that happen. And it really should have been a cooler.
It should have been. At the river, the straight is possible. But the thing about it there is that you've got such a strong hand. What you've got to ask yourself is, if I raise the river, if you're Cuervo, will worse hands call me? And I think there the answer is yes.
Yeah, the action was so slow up until the river. The straight's relatively unlikely, even with a lot of action. I think the jack is still there. So,
but he had a feeling. He had a feeling. I would have lost more. He had a feeling. I'm kind of surprised.
You also would have won more a lot of the time, so there's that.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Surprised the player is going ahead and shoving here. He's been pretty tight.
No, that was great. I like how you completed the sentence. I was going to say something a little different. I'm surprised the big blind is tanking because he's made some pretty loose calls, right? Like he snap called the eights early on. And with the king jack, he snap raise called. And here with king queen, progressive knockout, I would think he would call pretty quick. I
think that was maybe something else going on. I agree with you. I think it's too surprising, though, to be just as it played. I think he was away from keyboard for a second. He was making his popcorn. He was getting his snack game on.
You know what? I like that. Yeah. It could have been a game of cat and mouse to him.
I don't know. That's pretty malicious. All right.
7 or 8 blinds, ace 10, a clear shove. He's pretty committed by the big blind. And that'll be another bust, getting down to 5-handed.
Wow. You can't fault the pace of this action.
Yes. And in order to fit this all into one nice video, we're going to pause at one point and move ahead so we get to see different handedness and some very short-handed play as well.
I would min-raise here.
with the ace to trying to induce.
Yeah. I think that you make it more likely to fold out weaker aces. Some weaker aces can 3-bet shove on you. I would go ahead and do that. Of course, it wouldn't have mattered in this particular situation. But I like min raising. I think we're just deep enough that I don't like just open shoving.
Yeah, that's fair. And Cuervo with a huge suck out. I think pre-flop his decision is pretty close. I would actually fold if this were not a progressive knockout because of ICM.
Yeah.
And because I'm a tremendous nit.
Right. There's that to consider as well.
Right. Those are the two important factors.
Are you a tremendous nit? Then you have to fold.
Yes, you are.
No, I think it's really close. All right. So we had a flat here, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Not a lot of those going down these days.
No. And now Dean picks up a combo draw.
Yeah, like every card in the deck hits him on the river, pretty much.
Yeah, he's got a massive 15-out draw. And look at Scrubbies. You know what? You might think, hey, he's got Queen 6, no heart. What business does he have continuing to do stuff in this pot?
What a terrible board for bluffing. You may think.
You might think, but he's thinking, you know what? What is he thinking? You tell us. You tell us, Katie.
He's probably not thinking much about his opponent's range, for one thing, I would say, to be continuing into that. So then Queen High showed down in the end, Queen 10 High.
Hey, that's a really good point. Yeah, he must have been pretty happy when that showed us the winner. I think, seriously, that with Scrubbies this thing, I'm not saying it's the right play, but he's just trying to bully with the big stack, maybe taking it a little bit too far. But he's got that fighting spirit, which I admire.
Yeah, but I think that was a terrible board to continue on. It was just too wet. There's just too many things. I mean, his opponent really had one of the few hands that still, should be in there also in terms of the non-made hand where he's still getting crushed, obviously. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't really see many hands folding.
That is without doubt a fair analysis of the situation. And here Dan has flatted the button. If I were him, I would have then bet the flop when check to, considering he has the open and straight draw.
Yeah.
This is pretty weird. You want to be aggressive with these draws.
This almost feels like a different player on his account. I know it's not. I'm not trying to say, oh, yes, I think it is. But it almost like there's been a real shift in how he's deciding to play.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Like, I thought he was playing aggressive and solidly. And now he's playing more passively, which is, in general, not going to be the way to go.
Maybe he's put in the baby from his avatar. Now look at this is a monster pot potentially brewing here.
Wow. Yeah.
Obviously, kings have become by far the worst hand. Now, if you were 6-4 suited, are you check raising or you check calling?
I'm check shoving.
Isn't it kind of deep? Really?
Yeah, I would check shove here. I think that...
Oh, to look weak.
To look weak. I think it looks
vulnerable
weak.
Hand, I like it.
To me, you check shove, it looks like a single high spade. It looks like a semi-bluff. It does not look like a very great but made hand, but one that's also vulnerable. I mean, a single spade comes, and that sucks.
That's true, and you could get action there from, top pair hands, from naked flush draws.
Aces should be so much in the other two players' range. Not aces, plural, but an ace.
An ace.
And I think that would be good enough to get you action when your range does not look as strong as what you actually have.
Very true. So what we're going to do here is we're going to skip ahead a little bit to catch some three-handed and heads-up play as well. So we're going to pause and do that. And let's go ahead and take a look at three-handed action. So what we'll see here is that four-handed is where a ton goes down. And these people are battling it out. The blinds are going up. And all of these are available in full in the Stars lobby. So definitely if there's a certain format you're interested in, I would really recommend checking these out as a cool study aid.
Doesn't it feel like every Turbo Final table gets stuck on a certain number of players, and then it just feels like it's never going to have fewer players than that?
Yes.
Every single one I've played, it feels like that.
Absolutely. So Mitt's now the chip leader, and he's going to be about 16 blinds deep with the other two. And he's checking this flop, so he's limped the small blind, pretty common play, heads up, blind versus blind. And I guess checks the flop for some pot control.
Yep. And then bets the turn to try to start getting a little bit of value.
Yes,
but also he's probably doing that when he's not hit anything as well, too. So he's probably very balanced there.
Yeah, could definitely be. King 4 suited, usually good for an open on the button. Once he folds, though, if I'm Cuervo, I'm just going to move all in.
Yeah.
You're more incentivized to move all in from the small blind compared to other positions, since if you play the pot post-flop, you'll be out of position.
Yeah, that's very true. Would have played either the King 4 or the King 8 there. This looks like a good 3-bet shove spot to me.
Yeah, definitely. Usually if the button opens, you're in the blinds with a pocket pair. You have 25 blinds or less. It's just going to be a 3-bet shove. Move all in. That's exactly what Dan does.
And what do you think of the ace-9 fold?
That's close. Who covered whom? Is that the right who and whom usage, first of all?
I don't know. It sounds like a lot of W's. You're the one who had a better education than me.
You know what it is? It's whom covered whom.
I'm pretty sure that's wrong.
That's got to be it.
That's got to be wrong. I think it was close with the ace-9. I would want some information, and he has been playing a bit more passively, at least from what we saw in the latter part of this video so far, which would make me less inclined.
Yeah. Queen 5 and King 5. The king will play. I think that this min bet is for value, considering that any better hand will certainly at least call. And a surprising fold. If you're getting great odds and you beat a bluff, you got to call, right?
That's a really tight fold. That's a real mistake. I think, too, also, if he's not going to see that as a hand that has showdown value with calling that bet, to me, he probably shouldn't be playing a lot of post-flop, just letting him check behind type things. He should be playing higher variance style if post-flop he's that uncomfortable.
Well said.
I feel like I was laying the praise on Dan, and now I'm laying the hate. We're still bros, Dan. Don't worry. Yeah, you got this. Get back in your A game. Where did it go?
Why are you sipping that haterade?
Why? Well, because he's been playing too passively, and I don't understand when a player goes from playing aggressively and solid to playing kind of passively. I know it can be overwhelming in a final table. The adrenaline's there. It's exciting, but you've got to stay aggressive.
What if I told you he was here right now?
That would be awkward. That would be awkward. All right. Oh, come on. No, actually, it's fine to fold the 10-9.
So good shove by Cuervo there. He took that advice of shoving for a slightly deeper stack when out of position.
Yep. Definitely true. And let's see what happens here if button folds. So what do you think? Do you think he's just going to shove? So
I think that if I were him, yeah, I would jam for 17 blinds, but his limp isn't crazy, and this could spell a lot of action. We've got top pair versus an open-ended straight draw, and I really like this semi-bluff. You only have jack high, you have the draw.
Yeah, I agree that's definitely the way to go.
I think
Dan is playing a dangerous game of possibly not getting value when he makes real hands and then underplaying others as well.
Yes. Be interesting to see if he calls or raises.
He really needed to raise there in order to comfortably play for stacks if he wants. It's really, really not getting value here. It's, from a lot of the hands his opponent could have, I think.
Yeah, and Cuervo, I like how he stayed very aggressive with that draw. Even at the turn, he continued firing, trying to get some fold equity. So very well played on his part.
Yeah, Cuervo is playing really well, I think.
Will he be rewarded?
I think
so.
You've won. Yeah. Yeah.
We only have 28 years of combined playing experience. We don't know who wins on that board.
Well, that's the problem with online poker. You don't have to know, right?
Right. If the chips go your way, then...
Live poker, it takes me 20 minutes to figure out who's won the hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think he was rewarded, and he's been playing well.
Now, this is going to be a pretty clear spot pre. They get it in. A massive draw for Cuervo. And she bricks.
Yep. Still got fighting chips, though, here.
Now, this is absolutely a spot. Mitz needs to play any two cards to pressure his mid-stacked opponent. And it went from a 1-point Mitz having a big stack and there being two stacks about tied to a very dramatic stack distribution. You got to always pressure your opponent.
Yeah, this is a dream stack distribution pretty much if you're Mitz. Should really be. I would open here. No.
Would you really? With the 5 deuce?
No, I wouldn't open there. That's what it does to you. I wouldn't. I would open very wide, but 5 deuce off is a bit because you're going to be calling the big blind pretty much.
Right.
So that's the problem with that.
And King High is going to be the winner on that board. And now they are heads up, a tremendous incentive to win in the progressive knockout format because you're going to get both your opponent's bounty and your own.
And a little over 20 blinds here, right? Deep.
Yes. Yeah, a little over 20 blinds, exactly. Interesting to see if Dan jams, makes a smaller raise. He might even check some of the time with stacks being a bit awkward.
Yeah. Maybe he'll switch back into his aggro mode now that he's heads up and it's even more important to be aggressive.
Yes. But I'll tell you what, they're playing fast.
They are playing fast. Are they playing furious, though? That's the question.
I think they're going to fit in like 400 hands an hour at this pace. Look at this.
Yeah, they are moving fast.
Is this real time?
It's a really good point. This is really fast. This is definitely... I like to pride myself as playing pretty fast when I play, but this is faster than I'd be playing.
Yeah, this is fast, definitely.
Yeah. Maybe they're just both sitting out.
That
would be a little awkward for us to discover.
Yes, it would be. Here at 8-7, you normally... I can't even commentate. They're playing way too fast. Normally...
Here with 8-7, you would go ahead. So he check calls there. That's pretty unusual.
It is, but when you've got a gut shot heads up, you want some excuse to stay in. So we could have check raised. I assume what he's going to do is just bluff the river if the turn gets checked. So
yeah, but the point is you need some kind of a plan to win the hand without hitting if you're going to call there. You know, not that it always ends up being implemented, but yeah, to bet the river if you check back the turn instead of betting, where it becomes a lot more likely as an ace when he's bet the turn.
Yeah. Mitch shoves the deuces, and now Dan gets deuces and shoves them. Both correct to move all in with.
Yeah. Definitely correct there.
And here with 5 deuce suited, you don't want to bluff a lot on 8-10 jack with 2 spades, too coordinated.
I still would.
Tell us why then.
I would go ahead and do it because he needs to take stabs when he's at the bottom of his range, which he's pretty much at the bottom of his range there.
GTO bluff, right? So you can still have some bluffing range.
Furthermore, I'd be looking to play as aggressive as possible against Dan here.
Okay. Well, they're all in.
Wow.
And this is likely to be the end of this tournament.
Unless they add another card to the community board.
Which they might. You never know.
You never know. Wow, that was an exciting tournament. A lot of fun spots and fast action.
Yeah. Very well done by Mitz. And it goes to show a lot of these crucial turbo tournament spots that come up so often with a shorter effective stack.
Definitely the case, and a lot you can study there so that when you end up at a turbo final table, there are a lot of spots that, look common to other situations.
Absolutely. So congrats to Mitz on his big win. And don't miss a second of our exclusive content. Click on the blue CardsChat logo in the bottom right corner to subscribe, or the red subscribe button below the video. Thanks very much for watching. This has been Katie and Collin for CardsChat.com.